One of the reasons why I have been devoted to work with mental illness is it's been personal. My mother suffers from depression and anxiety, and back in the days, it was never treated because it was just my mom is always sick, but nobody knew why she was sick. And then as I got older and my son was diagnosed with anxiety and depression and the ADHD is when I started to learn more about mental illness myself and discover that the reason why some of my adolescence years were the way they were is because I also suffer from depression and anxiety, and it was never discovered. So I wanted to break the cycle of treatment, prevention, starting with myself and in the same time helping my son get through. And as I'm receiving services for my son, not forgetting about me, and but giving my devoted time to my son, it's when I soon started to discover, wait a minute, there is more than just my son in this community and in the school. Coming from being Hispanic, mental illness has not been recognized a lot. There is a lot of shame, denial, and therefore I committed myself to start doing more and delivering the message that it is an illness and there is treatment for it, not necessarily medication. I was not offered medication when my son was diagnosed. I didn't want my son to be on medication, and I didn't have him on medication for a lot of years, not understanding the concept of that chemical imbalance in your body and how medication can help someone make it easier as you're learning coping skills to be able to deal with your diagnosis. And it took me a couple of years, and we did it. And I seen the success of my son and his progress. And my progress, it was a little slower, I would say at times. And then at times it was like faster because I was being educated. And that's how I got involved with the youth partnership 9 years ago with my own children. And it was amazing how a little bit of seed here and there can make such a big difference on someone's life. And through the school child study team with my son, dealing with the stigma and the bullying, dealing with myself, trying to understand why I reacted the way I did, why I couldn't get up in the morning at times, why I couldn't go places at times, and learning how to cope with that. And then again, interestingly, knowing how much medication can help you and be more open about it, I didn't want to do it for myself. Not really understanding the part of accepting it if I was still in denial, even though I was all forward to the treatment. So going back to my mom, then my mom was at her peak time of a depression, being institutionalized a couple of times. And but it really hit home when my uncle committed suicide a couple of years ago. It's been in 2004. That's when it really hit home on how my whole entire family has been suffering from different mental illnesses, and nobody has really taken that step forward. So I decided to commit myself more to the youth partnership and say, even if I just save one little kid, it's going to make a difference. I don't have to save the entire world. I don't think I have the power to do that. But one life, and hopefully it'll continue to spread out. More the education piece of it, because I think that when it comes to mental illness, it's not just the treatment, whether you want to be on medication or not, it's the education of it and understanding what it is. I have seen my son's progress when he graduated high school. Like I had mentioned before, to me it was like my son getting a doctor's degree. It was like so awesome because when he was in his junior year, he faced his peak time of social anxiety. I remember him being in the room from a Friday to a Monday, just leaving the room to take a shower and eat at 16. So knowing about mental illness, I'm like, oh, he could be depressed. Being a normal teenager, I wonder what else is doing that is keeping him in the room. And we had the conversation, and he said to me, why would you even think I'm smoking? And I'm like, well, I'm just asking the question. This is not normal. You come from school at 3 o'clock, and you don't leave your room until Monday morning again to go to school. I'm glad you shower and you eat, but it's not normal. And that's when he was at his peak time, and that's when we had to consider medication one more time. And so from him to be able to cope with that peak time and finish high school was big. And then we went through another downtime. Now he's not too sure what he's going to do, and finding a job was a task. And when he had his first job that he's still working on, and customer rep, I'm like, oh my God, with social anxiety, okay. And I really feel, I don't want to use the word bad, but I did underestimate him, not being able and capable to work at a front-end customer with his anxiety and not being on medication, because he goes through his phases of no medication. And I have always respected that. And to today, he's still working, decided to go to community college, and he did good. And it makes me feel proud, and then it makes me feel, oh my God, I continue to underestimate him. Why do I always do that? And the same thing with my mom, and I underestimate her a lot, but I'm so proud of her because through all this history of depression in her family, she has kept it together. She has not been institutionalized for the last 7 years. She did have a crisis 6 months ago, but she has kept it together. Sometimes I feel like I'm mean to her because I'm like, no, you got to keep it together. We're not going to the hospital. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a harsh daughter. But then I feel good the next day when she feels better. And there was no need for the hospital. But it's been very tough for her. But I think I have gotten my most education. And then when I see the kids that I work with who spend 7 days in Bridgeton Hospital, who spend 3 months in Bridgeton Hospital, and they come and they don't know how to face society. They're afraid of people looking at them different. Because as a society, we can help it. We do that to each other. Then I start wondering, okay, what am I going to do here? How am I going to tell him that it's okay to cry, that it's okay to feel sad, that even if they were one of the kids who tried to commit suicide, even though they see it as a mistake, it was okay. It was okay when you did it. They just move on and see how we're going to do it different now. And that's what makes me feel so good. I don't bring a psychology master's level or a social work master's level psychiatrist either when it comes to medication. But I think the biggest important part of mental illness is the education piece. If we can understand what mental illness is and accept that we have a problem, it's just like an addict. Once you accept that you're an addict, then you can move on to the recovery process. But the support system, I think, is the strongest factor on how we support each other, how we help each other. If I didn't have my sister, who does have the master's degree in social work, next to me all the time, raising my kids with me as, I would say, the other half, because I'm a single mother. I don't want to say I would not be here, but I don't think I would have got here as fast as I did and being able to get my children where they are today.